Welcome to this week's episode of Serving the Community podcast. Each week, your host Trisha Stetzel is highlighting people and organizations in our communities that are serving through volunteer work and giving back to make our community, country, and even the world a kinder place to live. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Serving the Community podcast. My name is Trisha Stetzel. I'm the owner of Results Extreme Business Solutions and the founder of Serving the Community podcast. I'm really excited to have my guest on today that I met through a mutual contact. This gentleman is actually in Chicago doing some great things. Michael Allen with Together Chicago. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Trisha. It is a privilege to be with you. I'm delighted and excited and grateful to be on with you today.
I'm very excited as well. So, Michael, tell us a little bit about you, and then let's dig into your organization, Together Chicago.
Yeah, so I am originally an immigrant from the island nation of Jamaica and came here in 1977 with my parents as a 9-year-old boy and grew up in Fort Lauderdale. That was our first point of entry. Became a naturalized citizen in 1986 with about 50,000 other people in the Orange Bowl. Was sworn in the Orange Bowl by Congressman or Senator Claude Pepper, I believe, in 1986. Became a citizen and then finished growing up in South Florida, came to Chicago to go to seminary at Trinity. Really felt called into ministry, pastoral ministry at the time, and married to my sweetheart, Mariusa Allen, who is from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And we've got 4 children, one married and 2 in college and 1 at home. And so the question I always ask people, if I'm Jamaican and my wife is Brazilian, what does that make our kids? It's either Jamzillions or Brasmacans, I think. So
I love that.
yeah,
That
yeah.
is awesome. And you're almost an empty nester, it sounds like.
Almost, yeah, yeah. It's getting there, and we're feeling like it because we're not used to having just 3 of us around the table right now for dinner. Most of the time, we have a full house, not only our own kids, but we often have people in our home for dinner, neighbors, friends, coworkers, etc. And so, of course, pandemic has put a kibosh on a lot of that in terms of outside people coming around and sitting around your table breaking bread. But we love to do that. We both have the gift of hospitality, and we host students from all over the world internationally who come here to study English, and we host them in our home and so on. Even that those schools were shut down last year, and I'm not sure if they're going to reopen. But yeah, empty nest
That's
is
awesome.
coming.
Yeah, it is. Well, and it's wonderful, you're serving the community even on a personal level, and I
Hmm.
love that.
Hmm.
I think that's amazing. We should all take a note from you
Hmm.
and be giving back to our local communities in that way as well, and inviting
Yeah,
people into our homes, especially with
absolutely.
2020 and even 2021 is
Yeah.
almost half over. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I am 100% convinced that if more Americans open their homes to people that are different from them, neighbors, friends, coworkers, etc., the world would be a better place. There'd be less talk about racism and classism and all the isms and schisms. If we would just learn to appreciate what is different about one another and learn to celebrate those differences, and instead of being fearful of the things that are different, and just learning to, like Jesus said, love one another. So we've got a long ways, I think, to learn. There's some bright spots of people doing that, but we need more of us doing that, and I think that'll go a long way to heal what ails America today.
Absolutely. Thank you for offering that. I really appreciate it. So let's talk a little bit then about Together Chicago. And I appreciate you sharing the story of it a couple of weeks ago when we first
Mhm.
met. So let's tell the audience more about the organization.
Yeah, so Together Chicago was founded 4 years ago after a horrific year of uptick in the violence. A very successful businessman by the name of Dave Dillon, who is here in Chicago, and myself, we were introduced by a mutual friend. And we were both very, very troubled about the violence in Chicago and what we could do about it. He, a very successful businessman, incidentally born in the island nation of Japan. His parents were missionaries there. And I was born in the island nation of Jamaica. He came here to go to college at Wheaton. And I came as a young immigrant boy with my parents to start life here over. and um, and we met, 40 years later in Chicago as adults, and he and I had the very same passion about and questions about what can we, the church, do about the violence that was raging in the city of Chicago. And after meeting for a few weeks and bringing our influential leadership teams together, we decided that it would be God's will for us to both work together. And so we joined forces, and that's why the organization is called Together Chicago. And we want so here's a white Presbyterian businessman with a black Baptist preacher coming together to start an organization to help stop the violence in Chicago. So that was, we knew that was a God thing, because that just doesn't happen every day. And Dave has become a dear friend and brother in Christ, and we really do love one another and are working hard at trying to reduce the violence. And so we do it. We have four different strategies around trying to reduce the violence. One involves the legal community. So we get attorneys to give pro bono time to help solve civil cases before they become criminal cases. And then we have the help from the educational front, where we try to intervene in the kids, especially at the age where they're ripe for being recruited into gangs. So that's a preventative strategy. And we go in mobilizing church volunteers to adopt a school closest to their church and mentor and tutor not only the kids, but also their parents in education. And then thirdly, we have an economic development plan where we are seeking to bring economic inflows into communities that have been divested in over the years, where companies have pulled out, especially manufacturing. On the west and south sides of Chicago, manufacturing was what created a lot of middle class jobs for families to grow into the middle class sector of society. And when Coca-Cola and Oscar Mayer and Hershey's Chocolate and so many other companies pulled out and left the city, that left a void and hurt a lot of families. And so we're trying to lure manufacturing back into the city and other ways of developing economic opportunities for folks to get jobs, livable wage jobs, and rebuild their families and have sustainable income, so they don't have to sell drugs and sling guns on the street. So that's what it's all about.
And before we started recording, I asked you what was on your mind, and you painted a very clear picture of what's happening right now. And I would
Mm.
love for you to revisit that story so that we
Yeah,
can get the listeners a real clear picture of what's happening right now.
yeah. So there's a little girl in Chicago. I believe she's about 10 years old. Lives on the South Side, and a minister in the community asked her, how are you doing today, and what's going on with you? And she said, really, she said, I'm so sad because I can't play in my park that's around the corner from my house. And the minister said, why can't you play in the park around the corner from your house? And she said, well, the park is overrun by gangs, and there's always shooting out there, and so it's not safe. And so he said to her, so what do you do? What do you do because you can't go outside? What do you do instead? And she said, well, I go on YouTube and I watch other kids play outside. And I thought to myself, is that what our inner city communities have come to in this country, where kids can't have the freedom to play outside safely in the parks in their around by their homes? And so that is what drives us. That's what keeps me up at night. That's what wakes me up in the morning to get after the job of trying to reduce the violence in our city. Nobody should ever have to trade safety for their housing and where they live in proximity to their housing. And so, that's what motivates us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I love that you're bringing so many things to the community between legal and education, the
Hmm.
economic flows, as
Hmm.
well as just your mission, right? And
Hmm.
bringing ministry to
Mhm.
these young men.
Mhm.
So tell me, Michael, how can people help? How can people get involved in Together Chicago?
That's a great question. Well, for the people who are listening who may be people of faith and who understand the power of prayer, you can add your prayers to ours. We believe that prayer is powerful and nothing good happens without prayer. So we'd encourage you to pray for Chicago when you turn on the news and you hear about the gun violence statistics in Chicago. Please join us in prayer. And then, of course, secondly, if you know of folks in the Chicago community, for example, who are attorneys or who are business people, you may want to mention to them Together Chicago and ask them to go on our website and check it out so that they might want to decide after looking and checking us out that they want to lend some time or talent to volunteer in the work that we're doing, whether it's mentoring, tutoring, or it is giving some pro bono legal time to advise our clients that come. So we have something called the Gospel Justice Center, and so we have 14 Gospel Justice Centers scattered across Chicago in communities of need, where and poverty is high, where people don't have access to good legal counsel that's affordable for them, and attorneys give a couple hours a month pro bono at churches. So churches open their doors, attorneys come in and set up an office, and we have volunteers that promote the service in the community, and then folks come with their legal problems, and then they leave feeling that somebody cares about them, that's able to give them a plan where they can solve that legal problem before it becomes a criminal issue. So it's usually a civil case. About 70% of all legal issues in the courts are civil issues, but sometimes if you don't have an attorney, you can't afford one, or you don't have access to one to help you solve that civil case, it becomes a criminal case. In other words, people do something that creates a criminal offense because of the civil offense that they can't solve. So that's one thing folks can do, is to just refer attorneys to us in the Chicago area who are willing and able to help. Also, you might have business connections here. Maybe you're a business person and you do business with other clients or providers in Chicagoland, and you might talk about how, as you want to give back in some way with your business, maybe you can help open the doors for folks to get jobs, or maybe job training, or maybe opening a business in an area that really desperately needs a business to attract workers to solve people that need jobs, solve the problem of joblessness in certain communities that need that. So ideas and referrals. And so we all know that as business people in the community, it's sometimes not what you know, but who you know.
Yeah.
And so opening that opportunity for networking is great for your listeners who may be in the Houston area, but I'm sure you may have listeners that listen from all over the place.
Mhm.
And then thirdly, folks can give. There's charitable giving, whether it's from your personal finances or from your business finances. Some companies I know like to give back to the community. They have a charitable foundation or charitable account. They do matching giving with their employees, that kind of thing. And Together Chicago could certainly benefit from those who want to do that.
Yeah,
That's right.
absolutely. And I think I shared with you, I have family in Chicago and
Yeah.
friends. So,
Yeah.
in the suburbs, not in the city.
Right.
The traffic in Chicago, I think, is almost as bad as in Houston.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
like
we
to
ought to
make
just get helicopters, right? And then we
right.
just fly over. That's what they do in Sao Paulo. All the executives in Sao Paulo, they fly around in helicopters because the traffic is even worse than Chicago and Houston.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Well, I think your organization is doing some amazing things out there, Michael. So, to take us out, can you just give me, because I know you're not flying around in a helicopter, can you
right.
just give me day in the life of
Yeah,
Michael Allen when
yeah.
you're working inside of your organization?
Absolutely. One of the programs we have to help reduce the violence is working with the police department. Now, I know in the last year or two, we've had a lot of people that are upset with the police, and some are calling for defunding the police and all of that. But we are unashamedly working with the police department in Chicago because we believe they're part of the solution, not a big part of the problem. And so, no doubt, they need to take accountability for whenever they do something wrong, they step over the line like anybody else. But by and large, 95%, maybe 98% of police officers on the force are good people, men and women that love what they do and do it with a very high standard of professionalism, and they really do care about the community. And one of the things that we have discovered is that the police department, they don't they don't think that they can solve the problem of crime, especially gun violence, on their own. They're tired of locking up people. That's what they're paid to do, and that's what they have to do. But they would really rather an intervention with community service partners like us to help stop the flow of violence and other crimes. And so they've created the opportunity for organizations like Together Chicago to come alongside and help them do their job. And it's called community policing. So there's a program also called custom notifications where we partner with the police. We train up pastors to ride along with the police to go visit in that district. Chicago has something like 22 police districts scattered across the city. We are responsible now as a full partner with the police department for 6 of the 22 districts. And what we do is a commander will have a list of, say, their top 10 troublemakers in their district, and they want to go and pay them a visit because these guys have routinely been locked up. They go serve time, they get out, and they continue in the life of crime. And so they realize the police are frustrated, going, obviously this guy didn't learn his lesson. He's been locked up 5 times for the same offense, and he serves a couple of years, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it is. He's back on the street doing the same thing. So we go right along with the commander in the district, visiting the top 10, and we knock on the door. The commander gives them a greeting, introduction, explains to them that they really do care about them, but they've got a job to do. If they keep doing what they're doing, they're going to, get locked up. But they say, I brought with me today not to lock you up. I didn't bring my cuffs to lock you up. I'm not drawing any guns on you today. But I brought a pastor that you should meet so that he could meet you and tell you about some things that might can help you. So then they step out of the way. I step up and I look at the guy in the eye and say, look, we love you. We care about you. We don't care about your past. We do care about your present and your future. And I look him in the eye and I tell him this, Trisha. I say, look, you are worth more to this community alive and free than dead or in prison. And the road that you're on right now is going to end one of two ways: a box in the ground or a box with bars. So if you let me help you, I will help you. If you make them stop you, they will stop you. That's the message that we give to these guys. And then I give them my card and I say, look, tell me what resource you need to put the guns and the drugs down, and I will mobilize that resource for you. You just make one phone call, it's just me, and I will mobilize the resource that you need to make different decisions, healthy, vibrant decisions for your life that will lead you on a path to prosperity and out of a life of crime and poverty. And so on Monday, for example, we did 2 of those calls in the neighborhood where I live with the police department. Commander came out. We had 2 on the list that we wanted to see that day. One of the guys lived 2 blocks from my house, and he's a known gang member on the street. Had just gotten out of jail. He was on an ankle monitor. His name is Michael, and so just like my name's Michael, his name's Michael. So we had a great rapport right off the bat. And I gave him the spiel, and he said, "Pastor, I'm so thankful you came out." And he said to the commander, "Commander, thank you for bringing the pastor to my house." And he said, "I need a job." I said, "That's fantastic." I said, "I got you." I said, "What else do you need?" He says, "Well, I just had a baby, and it's my first baby. He's 2 months old, and I need some baby wipes." I said, "I got you." I said, "What else do you need?" And as we begin to talk, uh, he explained to me that he dropped out of school in the 10th grade, which is a typical story. Many of these guys are high school dropouts, and they start using drugs. They get disinterested in their schoolwork. They can't focus. They lose interest. and then they get a prime target for being recruited into the gangs. And so I said to him, I could get you a job, but you may not be able to keep the job unless you finish your GED. And sometimes it's even hard to get a job without your GEDs. That's a minimum you need to get. And then we can get you into a job training program that not only teaches you how to work, but teaches you how to deal with all the challenges that's going to come with life so you can focus and do your job, but also take care of your family and all of that. And this guy's eyes lit up and he was so grateful. He texted me the next day. Matter of fact, today, before jumping on with you, Trisha, I took my intern over to his house with a whole bag of baby wipes. And then I got him a CTA card so he can get on the bus and the train for the next month and unlimited access to the bus and train to move about to get where he needs to go to, manage his life. And then I gave him an info sheet of how to get involved in this job training program where he can really learn what it means to work and to have a good work ethic and so he can keep a job, because there's plenty of people who are willing to hire him and give him a job, but the question is, can he keep it? Will he be able to show up on time and have the right attitude and the right work ethic and the mindset to succeed? And so we want to help him for the long term, and so we get him a lot of training to do that with one of our partners. So that's in a nutshell kind of what we do, and
Yeah.
it's exciting.
Wow, day in the life of Michael Allen. Thank you for all of the amazing work that you're doing through your Together Chicago organization. If people want to get involved, how can they find you? Is it best to send them to the website?
.com, togetherchicago.com. It's a simple website there, and there'll be lots of opportunity. You can see all of our directors from the different programs, touch base with them. You can also click and make a safe, secure, fast donation if that's what you want to do as well. And we'll be glad to talk with you about exploring opportunities to really move the needle in making the violence go down and thriving communities go up.
Awesome. Michael, thank you so much for spending time with me today. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, Trisha, and God bless you. Appreciate what you do.
Thank you very much. And that
All right.
concludes this week's episode of Serving the Community.